I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and here today with me is Paul Brink, President and COO of Franco-Nevada. Thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So we're here at PDAC, and I want to start by getting your sense of the gold market. We've had a lot happening already this year, even in the last week or so. How do you feel about it right now?
I think the gold market is in a good place. This gold market reminds me of the last bull cycle and sort of 2006, the last bull market. Remember, the last bull market started in 2001 and went all the way through to 2012. And this market turned around the end of 2015. So here we are, 2020. We're 5 years into the bull market. We turned around at $1,050 gold. We're sitting at $1,500, $1,600 gold. And what's going on currently in the world? There's a lot of risk with the coronavirus. Likely impact is it causes a slowdown in world economies, and the central bank response, no doubt, is to reduce rates. We've seen that already this morning.
Yes.
And when you look at the gold price typically moves counter to the US dollar. But actually in the last couple of years, the biggest correlation of the gold price has been rates. When rates move down, the gold price moves up. So this is a very constructive environment for the gold price.
Okay.
And gold stocks are doing very well.
Yeah, so as a royalty and streaming company at this point in the cycle, what's your strategy? Is this a time to be doing deals? Would that be in the gold space or a different space? What are your thoughts?
I feel overall we're sort of mid-cycle in gold. Our general strategy is anytime you speak to our board, they'll tell you the only thing they know for certain about the gold market is it's highly cyclical. Mm-hmm. We don't really know if it's going to go up or down. So in having a long-term investment strategy in the market, the key is you want to spend most of your capital in the bottom of the market.
Yes. And
you need to be very disciplined when you start getting closer to the top. Mm-hmm. We've been very fortunate. We had some great opportunities in 2015. We've been funding the build-out of Cobre Panama the last number of years. So we've spent over $1.2 billion of capital in the gold sector in the last 3 years. And we've put our growth in place in the companies. The next 4 or 5 years, we've got good growth in the company. Mm-hmm. So we're really in a position where we don't need to acquire anything to add more growth. We really can be disciplined as the market gets hotter here. If they're great assets, we'd love to add them, but we're not forced to add growth at the top of the market.
It's time to be a little bit cautious.
Time to start getting cautious.
Mm-hmm. So relatedly, how do you see your role as a source of capital for companies that you work with? How do you see that?
We like to think of ourselves as a very stable source of capital that's always there in the market. The capital for the mining industry is notoriously volatile. Mm-hmm. The equity markets, sometimes they're wildly optimistic, and other times they're completely shut. And the same applies in the high yield debt markets. We like to be more consistent, let people know that we'll always be there, and throughout the cycle that they can raise capital through us. So probably when you think of more immediate opportunities, it's right now you've got quite a dislocation between precious metal markets and the base metal markets.
Right.
And the base metal markets really being quite depressed. A big driver for our business over the last 5 years has been buying precious metal streams on base metal assets. And so if we continue in this direction, I think we may be in another good market. For anybody who's got a base metal asset looking to expand it, needs capital right now, being able to monetize the precious metal stream really is an attractive form of capital.
Right, and just a question on how prices for metals impact your business. You mentioned maybe we're mid-cycle right now. As gold hopefully goes higher, precious metals go higher. What impacts do you see?
Well, maybe the first thing, precious metal definitely does impact our business, but it's not the way we run the business.
Yeah.
The way we think of our business is we're trying to invest in good deposits. Mm-hmm. Our model is we'll pay a full price for what's there today on deposits. Our real skill set is trying to look at deposits, see what's economic, and also what's got good upside potential. And if we can get those bets right, we know that we'll make money over time. For the market, we know it's going to go up and down, and when it goes up, it's terrific, but it's not what we're counting on.
Okay, so many of the people that we speak to often recommend royalty and streaming companies as an entry point for new investors who maybe want to get into gold or the mining sector. I wondered if that's also how you see yourself as a company, and if so, if there's an educational element to the work that you do.
I'd say it is a good investment for new investors, although funny enough, I would say the savviest of investors that have been in the mineral markets the longest time are probably our biggest shareholders. They have done very well over time. Making money in the mining markets, many people get into it because they're speculating. They're speculating that they'll get the gold price direction right in the short term, or that they'll find the next big discovery. And those things happen from time to time, but particularly the discoveries are extremely rare. The most repeatable thing in the business is that once you've got a deposit, inevitably over that life of the deposit, it reveals itself. And most deposits are much bigger over time than at the time that you build the mine. So that's a very repeatable thing that plays out again and again in the mining industry. And that really is what we're investing in and what drives our company. So while many new investors are attracted by the speculation, it's often the battle-weary ones who end up being the investors in royalty and streaming companies.
Okay. Great point. Part of the attraction is, I think, that your share price is very consistently going up. Another element, though, that I'm sure people enjoy is the dividend that you pay. And other companies, I think we've seen this year, are trying to step up. They're trying to do that. Do you think, and I think with the goal of bringing in new investors, generalist investors, do you think that's going to work for those companies? Do we need those investors? How do you see that?
I think absolutely the mining space needs those investors. There's been a big contraction in the amount of funds that's in mining specific funds. So to drive the industry, we definitely need the generalist. And they certainly are attracted by dividends. Not just the prospect that there is a dividend in the good time. We found what really attracts them is stability of dividends. With our dividend for the last 12 years while we've been public, we've increased the dividend every single year. And that sort of certainty, the sustainability of the dividend and the progressive nature of the dividend have been very important in attracting generalist investors.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about the company and what's going on. You have your 2019 results coming in a few days or a week, so we can't really talk about that right now, but we can talk about Q3. Your report shows records in a number of categories. I wondered if you could talk about that, what that means for the company, especially going forward.
Sure. As we chatted before, over the last number of years, we've been investing quite heavily, particularly Cobre Panama. Cobre Panama is the largest copper project that's been built in the last cycle by First Quantum. They've done a fantastic job. It started producing just last year, and so through the back end of the year, we started getting contributions from Cobre. That's a big driver for our growth and will drive our growth through the next 4 or 5 years. We couldn't have been more fortunate that the gold that we get from Cobre started coming in mid of last year, just when the gold price started moving. So those two things have been driving our results, revenue, EBITDA, earnings. They're all on an upward trajectory.
Great, and I know you can't say too much, but any other factors that we should watch for in 2020 from the company?
The 2020, mostly because of Cobre, we've got that built-in growth. Also our key assets, there are another 3 of them, Candelaria, Antamina, Antapaccay. They're all big copper mines. We have precious metal streams on each of them. All of those assets are performing very well at the moment, and so the company really is firing on all cylinders. We're expecting a very strong 2020.
Okay, perfect. We'll leave it there. That was great. Thank you so much for being here. Once again, I'm Charlotte McLeod with the Investing News Network, and this is Paul Brink of Franco-Nevada.